Communication and conflict resolution. What is it? Communication is a process of sharing ideas, feelings, thoughts, and messages with others. Conflict is an expressed struggle between at least two parties who face incompatible goals. Conflict resolution is a way for two or more parties to find a peaceful solution to a disagreement. What is its relevance? Effective communication is important for development of employees and successful business operations. Conflict is essential for innovation and further development of ideas. However, negative conflict can have a detrimental effect on individuals' work performance, lead to workplace dissatisfaction, and counterproductivity. Conflict resolution is critical to eliminate harmful conflict, workplace dissatisfaction, and counterproductivity. In 1985, Stella Tingtomi formulated the FACE theory of negotiation. She emphasized that an important factor in influencing a person's behavior is the culture that they belong to, and thus conflict styles differ across different cultures. The FACE negotiation theory suggests how different cultures or faces across the world respond in different ways to conflict. A face is a metaphor for the image of oneself that we want others to see and believe. The theory understands that conflict is inevitable in a relationship and explores the different ways conflict can be handled by maintaining a face in society. The ways in which diverse cultures view face will influence a workplace and thus determine the approach to conflict management. Thus, the theory rests on the differing experiences and perceptions of individuals and collective cultures. Some strengths of the face negotiation theory include it provides a base to work with when managing conflicts between two different countries or cultures. The theory reminds us that to consider the differences in beliefs and values of the cultures being dealt with in order to not offend them. It helps us to understand why individuals may act in a certain way in order to save their own face. The theory can be applied to anyone because the concept of face is recognized as being inherent in every person. It can be exhaustive as there is a great diversity of countries and cultures across the world. Often this process is time-consuming, with expensive textual analysis needing to be used. The perceived differences between countries often does not fully rely on a diversity in cultural dimension.
Negotiation theories may be prescriptive or normative in nature. Statesman and negotiator Henry Kissinger defined negotiation as a process of combining conflicting positions into a common position under decision rule of unanimity. The concept of principal negotiation developed by Fisher and Urey in Getting to Yes in 1981 is one of the most influential approaches in current negotiation theory. In addition, Fisher, Urey, and Patton listed three types of communication problems. Firstly, disputants may not be talking to each other while the comments are formally addressed to opponent. They are actually addressing some outside audience. Secondly, when parties are not listening to each other, rather than listening attentively to the opponent, parties may be instead be planning their own response or listening to their own constituency. Finally, even when parties are both listening and talking to each other, misunderstanding and misinterpretation may occur. In the principle negotiation, there are four fundamental principles of negotiation. First, separate people from the problem being negotiated. Second, focus on the negotiating party's interests, not their positions. Third, generate different solutions for the mutual gain. Fourth, remove the emotion from the situation to focus on the facts. There are a range of advantages and disadvantages. For the advantages, it provides more satisfying results for the parties as it deals with their underlying needs and interests, and it is efficient in that parties look more creatively at a range of options for dealing with their problem, as well as provides a basis for a better relationship between the parties by dealing with the emotional and interpersonal dimension of conflict and objective criteria for evaluating. However, principal negotiation is not right for all situations. That instant where party assume a competitive strategy and is focused on winning at the other party's expense. Also, situation where negotiation involves a widely available commodity product that is neither inexpensive or does not play a strategic role in the business.
In late 2013, the Conflict Resolution Quarterly noted that conflict coaching was one of the main trends emerging in the field of conflict resolution. This theory is fairly recent in time and was based on Fisher's narrative paradigm. Conflict coaching is powerful questioning to help gain insights and encourage the concept of mutuality. It is a model process for helping people resolve their own conflicts through seeing the other person's perspective. According to Brainan and Robinson, the main purpose of those participating in conflict coaching is to get a better understanding of constructive communication, decision making, problem solving, and conflict resolution. The theory suggests that conflict coaching helps organizations to understand how to prevent dispute escalation and learn how to effectively engage and communicate in a conflict and difficult conversations.
Working with a conflict coach will support people's learning processes and will allow them to practice using tools not only for conflict management and communication but also for self-reflection. Siegel cautions that repetition is important in order to change habitual patterns of thoughts and attitudes. Thus, it may take a series of sessions for clients to remember and apply what they have learned in the conflict support service. Management needs to solve an existing conflict, as mediation is usually then advised. Conflict coaching focuses on similar conflict management skills, but only allow for the theoretical discussion of the reaction of the coach's counterpart, since the opposition is not present in the process. Unfortunately, due to the counterpart's absence, the coach can only rely on information provided by the coachee when playing the role.
Empirical evidence. A study was undertaken to assess the underlying assumption that the face plays a role in the behavior of a culture when responding to conflict. There were 768 people from 2 collectivistic countries and 2 individualistic countries. The main findings being cultural individualism and collectivism had direct and indirect effects on conflict styles. Independent self-understanding related positively with self-face, and interdependent self-constructual related positively with other face. Self-face related positively with dominating conflict styles, and other face related positively with avoiding and integrating styles.
Negotiation theory. Empirical evidence is from mathematical negligence dispute resolution. The purpose of using principal negotiation to resolve medical negligence disputes that such method of dispute resolution are a better means of resolving these complex disputes in contrast to the conventional use of settlement negotiations, positional bargaining, and neglection. In the case studies, the use of principal negotiations gives patients the opportunity to actually talk to their doctors and provides a means for doctor to explain why something was done the way it was. This creates an environment which actively requires all the parties, with the assistance of medicator, to actively listen to each other's stories and openly acknowledge each other's expressed and unexpressed desires and feelings. For the findings, it allows an openly communicating to each other their underlying needs, interests, fears, and concerns, provides the parties with some degree of caution after the dispute is settled, explores the interests of disputants, and encourage disputants actively involved in the same medication session.
In 2011, a study was held to evaluate the application of conflict coaching in a hospital environment. 20 nurses were trained as conflict coaches, and then each coached a supervisee. Qualitative data was then gathered over an 8-month period and then analyzed. The results showed an increase in supervisor conflict coaching ability and enhanced communication ability for nurse managers and supervisees in facing conflict. They concluded that conflict coaching was a practical and effective means of developing the communication of nurses and supervisees. They also suggest additional research is required in this field. In 2003, a US agency, TSA, implemented a workplace program that used conflict resolution strategies. TSA acknowledged that interpersonal conflict could undermine the effectiveness of their mission. TSA decided that it wasn't enough to improve the environment and reduce the number of disputes going to litigation. They wanted to minimize the discord caused by interpersonal workplace conflict. The goal was not to eliminate, avoid, or suppress conflict, rather it was to normalize differences and facilitate accessible ways for employees to effectively engage in conflict. The integrated conflict management system has many parts to it, including skills, structure, and support. Skills refers to enhancing employees' conflict management and communication skills. Structure refers to the different processes available to resolve the conflict. Support refers to the third-party support from the organization. The program has found conflicts have significantly reduced, and they continue to refine the system for the future. The theories discussed are clearly relevant to the case study. As we can see, conflict coaching is about teaching people to deal with conflict, which will ultimately reduce future negative conflict. TSA recognized this benefit of teaching their staff effective conflict management skills and have recognized such benefits. Face negotiation theory identifies that people from different cultures need different conflict resolution processes due to their cultural differences. TSA employs a culturally diverse workforce across the US and the system offers a selection of processes for employees to use which accommodates for this culturally diverse workplace. Finally, negotiation theory recognizes that the support from the organization can help generate different options for the parties in conflict and help in negotiating parties focus on their interests and not their positions. TSA has implemented a support system to help employees in disputes and who require third-party assistance. TSA employ all three conflict resolution theories in practice to reduce negative conflict within the workplace. Analyzing the various conflict resolution theories, empirical evidence, and the case study within the workplace, it can be seen that effective communication is vital to the elimination and prevention of negative conflict. In conclusion, we strongly believe that conflict coaching is an effective modern practice that prevents negative conflict through the education of conflict management skills.